Welcome to Quick Tips from Cindy B's. Today's tip is how to get a perfect half square triangle. So traditional half square blocks were made with two triangles. Cut at whatever your finished size is plus 7/8. It's a very exact cut that you have to do, and you also have to sew with an exact 1/4 inch seam. When you're cutting triangles as well, you can see that we have a lot of bias on here. So if I'm going to sew on this, I could get some stretching on my sewing machine and it could go a little wonky and crooked, and we don't want that. So what we have done is, instead of cutting at the 7/8 inch mark, we cut at the full inch. So in this case, I make a 4-inch finished half square triangle. I am going to cut my blocks at 5 inches. Then I'm going to draw my lines for sewing on my block. My one preferred method is the quilter's magic wand. I'm going to align the center line up with the corners of my block. And I'm going to draw. And I am going to draw. Make sure you keep your pen nice and tight against your ruler. Now when I go to sew, I'm going to sew just inside that line. Another method, if you didn't want to draw two lines, you could draw just your center line, and you could use your 1/4 inch foot and sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the line. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew this, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I have both my seams sewn. I used black thread today just for demonstrating purposes, so you can see it better on camera, but I'm sure you're going to match your thread closer to your fabric color. Now I'm just going to cut it apart from corner to corner. Again, because our lines are sewn, we don't have to have that exact perfect 1/4 inch seam. Cut it apart, and now we're going to press. Normally you press to the dark, so I am going to press this time towards my blue. Just going to set my seam, open it up nicely with my fingers, little finger pressing, and then press with my iron. Again, the other block, and we're ready to trim up. So to trim up, you have to use a square. So my favorite squares is either the Creative Grids, a Tucker trimmer, which I absolutely love for hourglass blocks and combination units, or for half square triangles, my most favorite is the Bloc-Loc. So you can see why I like the Bloc-Loc is it has this groove in the middle, and I can lock it right onto my seam nicely. I am going to slide it up. This one I'm trimming up to 4.5, so you can see I have a little bit of fabric on the outside of my 4.5, little bit of fabric there. So all I'm going to do is trim, trim. A little awkward only because of the camera. Now with this ruler, I am not going to pick it up. I'm going to rotate it around. I'm going to slide it down my seam. Now I'm going to line up my 4.5 exactly on the edge of my block. I am going to trim, trim, and without having to sew perfectly, I have now a perfect 4.5 half square triangle.